Okay, local AI. Local AI is something you are probably familiar with if you have played around with AI at all. It is a self-hosted way of running AI models on your own infrastructure, and it offers a drop-in replacement for the OpenAI API. And I have it running here on eom.dev, my network. Actually, I've had it running for a little bit of time now, but I've finally gotten it working. And so I want to share with you what exactly I have done to get this working, what I'm going to do with it in the future, and we'll just kind of explore around with that for a little bit. Let's see. So first thing is I've created a dedicated Ansible role for deploying this. I am running this on Kubernetes. It's a Kubernetes cluster running on my PowerEdge T640 right over there. You can't really see it because it's a bit dark. There is a trash bag flying around outside my window, which is distracting. But anyway, so all of the important stuff that I have done to make this actually work on my platform is in this one task file. I'm using a Helm chart. This is a Helm chart published by Go Skynet, which is actually an organization created by the creator of LocalAI. So this is actually, I suppose, the official Helm chart for LocalAI. And it's pretty easy to get it running. I'm doing it with NVIDIA GPUs. I'm using a Tesla T4 NVIDIA GPU, which is actually a pretty interesting piece of hardware. A lot of what has been challenging for me getting this set up for myself has been hardware, not software. LocalAI pretty much works out of the box. Once you deploy the Helm chart, it pretty much just runs. But getting a suitable GPU to do this with has been challenging. I think I've mentioned it before that I started with an RTX A6000 on the T640 over there, and I ended up needing to get an additional power supply adapter unit. And you have to install this power supply adapter unit underneath the motherboard. There's all the details for this are going to be in a thread on my discourse forum, so you can see the actual pictures of these things there. So yeah, that was a much bigger GPU, needed that additional power adapter, so I have to disassemble the entire server, which is destructive and not very fun. Hello, Stupefied Boyd. We are talking about AI stuff today, and at the moment, hardware. So yeah, after disassembling the entire server and installing this adapter, see you, Stupefied Boyd, thanks for joining. Installing this adapter, I had to, install the GPU, plug it in, and the fans of the T640 start turning on like a jet engine, and it just kind of idles at that volume. And since it's running right there, that doesn't really work. I have to have this at a reasonable volume in order for me to live here. So that didn't work. And also I ended up having a lot of hardware issues with that A6000 as well. So I got the one Tesla T4 and installed it in there. Sorry for bumping the mic. And it works very well. It runs off of no additional power units, and it just uses the integrated cooling. So the fans that already are built into the server are the fans that cool this thing, which is pretty great. And it also has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, so we can run a pretty sizable model. That's not, well, it's actually exactly half of the 32 gigabytes that were in the A6000, but at least we could run something and it will be quiet. But it's not actually quiet. So once I run a model on this, once I call the LocalAI API and it runs llama.cpp on this GPU and loads a model and runs it, the fans will crank up to start cooling this, and they actually would never turn off. And so I ended up in basically the same situation with this smaller GPU, where as soon as I started using it with LocalAI, it wouldn't work. It would turn on, be too loud, and it wouldn't shut off. So same problem, just kind of left it sitting there for a while. Eventually, I got a separate computer, this Tower Plus that's over here to my left. That's the one I'm live streaming from right now. And I tried putting the A6000 in that. I actually have a thread about this whole adventure. But I tried putting the A6000 in that and ended up having hardware issues again. Where is this thread? this one. I think there's a draft post in there, but yeah, we can see. Here it is. Here's the A6000. The whole process is documented here. Big old expensive GPU. But I ended up having hardware problems with that in the Tower Plus as well. So I decided to try a different GPU. I ordered a NVIDIA RTX 4090, which is another big GPU. And I tried putting that in the Tower Plus, and I don't have the right power connectors for it. I need 4 power connectors, and that thing only has 2. So once again, a big expensive GPU that I cannot use. And so I'm thinking, well, I could install it in the T640, put this 4090 in the T640, and maybe it will handle being quiet when I'm not using it better. It will be a bigger, more powerful GPU for running these AI models, and maybe I could do that. And so I sat with that 4090 for several days, almost a week, thinking about this project of disassembling my server once again entirely to put this power unit back in, because I had taken it out for the T4 here, and then testing out this 4090 and finding that it almost certainly was not going to work, because none of these have worked so far. So it was a big job and a frustrating job, and so I actually just decided not to do it, and I returned the 4090 back to whence it came and got my money back for it, which is great. So 2 things have changed since then. First of all, I have a second Tesla T4, which I can put in the T640, and that will give me a total of 32 gigabytes of VRAM, which is the same as the A6000 and actually more than the 24 gigabytes of the 4090. And I have found a solution to getting it to shut up when I'm not using it. Specifically, it's this environment variable right here. By default, this is set to false, this LocalAI watchdog idle. And what this does is, so it's about the backend, not the model. You have a backend, which is like llama.cpp, which is the engine on which you run models, and then you put models on top of that engine. And when this is not set, LocalAI is going to load that engine. What was the word I just used for it? Whatever. It loads the engine onto your GPU, and it never takes it off. It just leaves it there. And that makes it nice and fast, so that if someone hits the API again, like 20 minutes later, then the model's already loaded, and you can just start cranking out information. Hello, loving Westkoff. Thanks for joining. We're talking about LocalAI today. But yeah, so if this is not set, then LocalAI is just going to keep things loaded, and on my case, the fans are going to crank up, and I'm not going to be able to sleep, and that makes me unhappy. So digging around in the documentation, it was not actually particularly obvious that this was here, but finding this and setting this to true, and then setting the idle timeout to 5 minutes. Now, if a model goes unused for 5 minutes or longer, it's going to kill that underlying engine. It's going to take it off of the GPU entirely, and my fans will turn off. So, beauty. I can now use LocalAI on my local network with these GPUs. Once I install the second T4, I'll have a total of 32 gigabytes of VRAM to work with, and so this actually becomes a very, very useful platform suddenly. Let's take a look at it. I haven't pulled it up yet. It's just localai.eom.dev, and this is actually accessible over the public internet, but as we can see, authorization is required. If we come back down to our environment variables, we can see that I have this LocalAI API key, which is a concatenated list of secrets that I have, and I am going to authenticate on my other screen so that I don't show you my password. Since I'm running this in Kubernetes and am a little bit stuck with the infrastructure that I have already created. Beautiful. Let me actually take the opportunity to share my own stream here. Yeah, since I already am working in this Kubernetes environment, there are some things that I kind of need to do in order to put something on my network, such as giving it a public URL that's accessible over the public internet with HTTPS and everything. Just because of the things that I've already deployed in the cluster, it's easier to do that than to not do that. So I don't actually want to give just anybody on the internet access to my GPUs. So that's why I've set those environment variables for the API keys. And let's put this all back on one happy tab here. Beautiful. So yeah, that's why I've set those API keys so I can authenticate. Another thing I've set in this deployment is actually this disable web UI. So I can still pull up this web page and see things, but it says nothing is found. And if I go to like the models or chat or something like that, it's just going to say nothing is found, because I don't really want to use this web UI. I think that it's probably better to find dedicated clients or other things that actually utilize the API in the background. And for that, I'm actually using something interesting. It is called Newelle. Newelle, something like that. And this is a AI assistant for Linux. It's free and open source. I installed this through Flatpak on Debian. And if we go to the settings here, and under the LLM section, I go to OpenAI API, and if we take the little drop down, I copy one of my API keys into here, and then our API endpoint is just localai.eom.dev/v1. And I tell it to use a custom model. Falcon 3 3B instruct is the one that I have installed right now. This is actually kind of a small one. Once I get that second T4 installed, I will probably choose a bigger, more powerful model. But that's basically all I had to do. And from there, it kind of just works. So we can go ahead and try it out. Now the first one will probably take a second because it needs to load the model into memory. There we go. Ready and excited to assist you, blah, blah, blah. So we can see that it's working. And what's interesting is that we will hear in a second. I will definitely hear it. You might not because of the filters and stuff that I've put on this microphone. But the server fans should spin up and start becoming kind of loud. And the other part is that they will also turn off. Hello, Wizardly Schwartz. I like that name. But yes, so the fans will turn on in a second to start cooling. And then once I have not done anything with the model for 5 minutes, it'll kill it and they will turn off. So this becomes something that's tenable to run in my apartment. But there are some features to this that are kind of interesting that I haven't really looked at yet. Let's see. So, some things here. Long-term memory or embedding model. We have like the OpenAI API here. So, this is not something I've experimented with much. Yeah, and same thing with retrieval augmented generation or RAG. I have not experimented with these, and it looks like there are two different ways to do it. First of all, it seems like there are things that Newelle is going to do locally on your system to do, document analysis based on the documents that are on your local machine, looking at your documents folder, things like that, performing web searches. Those sound like things that Newelle itself is going to do. But then beyond that, you can also give it these additional API endpoints for this one. Which one is this? Well, it doesn't really tell us. I think it's supposed to be the embedding or responses API, something like that. And we actually have, if we... J42 at mastodon.social. Thank you for liking the stream. I appreciate that. If we go back to here, so here's the repository for LocalAI, and if we scroll down a bit, there's actually two additional projects that I've only just become aware of recently, LocalAGI and Local Recall, and these are both sister applications to LocalAI. They are created by the same person, Muddler, and they extend the features of LocalAI. So LocalAGI is for agentic AI stuff, so I kind of, honestly, I'm not entirely familiar with that at this point, but giving the AI a little bit more power in the system, giving it the ability to actually do things and take actions rather than just send text back. So like you would ask it to search for a file, instead of just giving you the command, you could give it the ability to actually execute that command. And I don't know how far we can push this. This is supposed to be a drop-in replacement for the OpenAI Responses API, which is pretty interesting, but I haven't played around with that Responses API too much, so I don't know exactly what it does. Now, someone has taken the liberty on this of creating a pull request. LocalAI bot. Yeah, we can even see me commenting down there that I'm using it. But someone has taken the liberty. Sorry to pause again, but I can definitely hear the fans spinning up. The way I record audio on this live stream is that there are multiple audio tracks. If you're just listening on the default stereo A/B tracks, you probably won't hear it. But there's an additional ambient audio track in the background that's probably picking up this fan. But let me just look at the mic for a second. Let me see. No, this one's not picking it up. So anyway, so yes, this pull request right here, this lovely pull request, includes some files that help define what we would need to deploy LocalAGI into Kubernetes, which I have copied over into a repository of my own right here. Modified ever so slightly to suit my needs. And here we go. Here it is. Basically just copied those files, changed a few things to variables, changed some things to like my own URL and stuff like that. So this is pretty much ready to deploy. I could probably just execute this playbook and have LocalAGI running next to LocalAI on my system right now. But I'm not sure that that's exactly the best thing to do, specifically because there are some variables here, like this LocalAGI local rag URL. So LocalAI, LocalAGI, and local recall, which is the other one here, they all kind of work together to give you a suite of AI tools. One is the base running of models. The other is doing the agentic workflows and executing actions. And the last one here is memory, so that it will remember your conversations over time. And they all work together, kind of. As far as all I've seen about that are these environment variables, where somewhere around here it's OpenAI base URL, things like that. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure, and I feel like I need to understand exactly what I'm doing there before I try and deploy LocalAGI. But we at least have LocalAI working. Yeah, unfortunately there are no pull requests or anything like that for Kubernetes, as far as I know. Let's check. No, nothing on this. So yeah, all on my own for that one. But if we go back to that Ghost Skynet, where is it? This Helm chart, this Ghost Skynet Helm chart, this is the one that I use to deploy LocalAI onto my system. And actually, back here, we can see that the only chart that it has is LocalAI. There is no LocalAGI chart, and there is no local recall chart. It would be great if there were. Perhaps I can create those. For now, I just have these Ansible roles to get it deployed onto my network. But yeah, that's basically it. I can hear that the fan has slowed down a bit, so that's just giving you a sense of the time. When I ask it one question, it has a delay, cranks up the fan, and then cools off after a while. let's take a look at some of the things that we can do with this and why this might be interesting. So if you've been following along with my platform for some time, then you will see, I would like this to be a little bit smaller, please. And actually, let's just go. Yes, if you've been following along with my platform for some time, you'll see that most of my stuff is kind of centered around this discourse forum. And as it stands, there's no AI on this, but there are some plugins that we can install, which could be kind of interesting. So this is a plugin that is used for a discourse forum. Now it seems that some of it is actually just for the admin side of, in the background, I would be able to get some sentiment analysis of what people are saying on the forum and an analysis of their engagement. But what's kind of more interesting to me and is not really being shown here, let's see if we can find it somewhere else. Is doing some retrieval augmented generation that would be informed by the conversations that we have on our own forum. So, someone could ask the AI about the latest projects that are going on the platform or the latest conversations, and the AI would have access to all of the forum and would be able to actually answer real questions about what we are doing on this platform. So kind of just an interesting way of doing things, if you ask me, of having a, the self-hosted forum to be the center of this content, and then having a self-hosted artificial intelligence connected to that self-hosted forum to do whatever it does. I don't really know. I do have a lot of projects in mind to use this for, but actually, as I was explaining with the problem with these fans and getting all this hardware set up, it's kind of just been sitting on the shelf for some time, collecting dust as I've wondered how I was going to get it working, but it seems like it is working now. So one idea that I will share with you at this time, and if you're in the chat, feel free to ask questions about this. So this is actually active right now, it would seem. But I've spoken about this before. It's a little bit small. Let me see. There's a better way to do this. Okay, there we go. So this is Element. This is our self-hosted chat. And another user, Kritamas, has been using it as a devlog. So actually, the first one, I think, was a devlog. It's a little bit hard to see the threads on your end. But basically, this works as a project log as you are working on a project, or actually as what's going on right now is actually playing a video game. This is, I think, Factorio. And yeah, so Kritamas is just updating this thread with thoughts and progress updates as they go. And I can imagine using something like this to work on a project. So if we look at this software engineering one, this has 115 replies. It just reminds me of, in a much more popular live stream, how the chat would be very active, and how this chat is also very active, this devlog here of just kind of stream of consciousness, writing down what you're doing while you're doing it. One could use both the streaming platform and the AI platform to manage a project like this of having multiple people writing into a devlog like this and having all of that feed into an AI that will basically summarize what each person is doing, so that, you know, me sitting here on the live stream would have something intelligible to look at and be able to interact with multiple people in a more granular way. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just an idea. So I think that's basically all I have to share about this at the moment. Just close out of that for now. So this video is going to live on Discourse. I am in the process of creating this post about local AI. And in the future, as I do projects on this platform and experiment with local AI, I will update this thread with additional posts to share about those projects. So if you're interested in seeing what I end up doing with this, or if you have ideas, feel free to let me know. And Loving Westcoff, bot does like to summarize. Yeah, that is kind of the best thing about AI, is being able to summarize. It's kind of just when and how you're using it. Trying to pick out very specific factual information. Like if I were asking it a question about the world, like what is the boiling point of ethanol? That's a question that actually my sister and I were actually asking at some point, so that's why it's coming to mind. But I don't think that's the kind of question I would want to ask an AI, even if I was using retrieval augmented generation, where it could, pull up Wikipedia and read the Wikipedia article. I'm not super confident, especially with these smaller self-hosted models, that they would be able to pick out that precise information correctly and give me the correct answer. But I can see it for, if multiple people are, let's say we're collaborating on a project. Let me pull up a different project over here. So one I've been working on and just released earlier this week. So feel free to check this out too. Threads about that on Discourse. WikiDeck, an NFT blockchain that rewards Wikipedia trading cards. I am spending a lot of time creating issues and organizing milestones about this project with the hopes that I can get some people to volunteer to help me on it. And long-term vision of this would be, if multiple people were working on this, we could have one person working on this ticket, we could have one person working on this ticket, one person working on this ticket, one person working on this ticket. Each of those people could be filling out a devlog in the Matrix chat, and they could just be, by themselves, replying in their own thread to keep it separate. And then periodically we would have the AI just go into that Matrix room, get each thread, provide a summary of it, and then put that summary in the live stream chat. So it's a way that all of these people could collaborate in real time with sufficient detail, You know what I mean? Am I making sense here? Lost my train of thought at the end there. But yeah, so just an idea. We'll see if it ever materializes into anything or what. But yeah, that's about it. So how you guys doing in the chat? Anybody, before I just close? I usually just, end the stream once I run out of things to say. And I've about run out of things to say. But maybe I should just hang out and see what you guys are up to. If nobody wants to... Thank you. I'm glad I'm making some sense. I would probably need a slightly larger audience, which probably would require me to put more effort into editing these videos. But alas, some things just aren't going to happen. It is Halloween today. Do you have any plans for Halloween, Loving Westcoff? I intend to go out and explore downtown Raleigh this evening, which has nothing to do with AI, but that's fine. We can hang out. I also haven't tried out any of the image generation or anything else on local AI. I've just done Well, I've also used Whisper on it. Yeah, thanks. I've used Whisper, and I've used a few different large language models on LocalAI, but image generation and other things I have not used too much, largely because I'm limited to those 16 gigabytes, and I usually feel like that's just too small to run anything interesting, but it's really not. It's really not. So I probably should, now that I have all this set up, probably should start looking into it. Yeah, please do look into those projects. WikiDeck especially. I'll take the opportunity since you're right here. WikiDeck.eom.dev. Might need to refresh it once or twice. Why is it doing that? Should return my JSON. Let's try with curl. Why is it saying that? Server has gone away. Okay, well, I guess I have to I guess I have to look into that, but Whisper.cpp is nice for transcriptions. It is. I actually had set up yet another project. This is a pretty old one, actually. When I first was experimenting with these AI models, it should be around here somewhere. This video summary bot. This was a Python script that I used with this API that basically would take the videos that I'm live streaming and recording here. It would download them from Min.io, where I eventually store them. It then will scrape out all of the audio, cut it into 5-minute chunks, send each chunk to Whisper to get a transcription, and then once it has the full transcription of the video, it would take that transcription and send it to a large language model and get a summary. And I was trying to get it to output a video description that I could use on YouTube or my forum, but it wasn't really getting the tone correct. So again, I'm using a pretty small model and only experimented with the prompt engineering so much. But yeah, I wasn't able to get a good enough description that I actually wanted to use it. Some of my older posts actually have that in there. Yeah, I feel like, you know, AI, it's bad for all the reasons people think it's bad, and it's also a hoax for all the reasons people think it's a hoax. It's a bubble for sure. The hype is kind of silly. It's probably not worth what people are paying for it, but I'm not paying for it, so it can actually be cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to play around with this stuff a lot more now that I can use it and not feel like it's being shown a magic trick. You know, that's what I find most annoying about AI stuff is when, you know, when the people talking about it, do they sound like they are trying to teach you something, or do they sound like they are showing you a magic trick? And when you explain how it works, do they get upset? You can kind of tell the difference there. Let's go back here. Why is this saying this? It shouldn't be. Let's just keep doing this. I did this a little bit yesterday. I don't know exactly what the problem is. Let's see if I go to... Is that an error that I am handling myself? I've been asking people to help test with WikiDeck, so the fact that it's doing that is a little bit concerning. Maybe it broke? Quen 3VLs trying to analyze video in a similar way now. Is it looking at the actual video file, or is it doing what I did where I, used Python to scrape out the audio and do things in a pipeline like that? I might try to take the easy path and just delete the pod. Actually, I should report this issue. This is exactly what I'm asking for people to do. Very simply report Let's see if I try using the WikiDeck client. Oh, I need to set my URL. Interesting. We get 20 frames at a time with FFmpeg and Python. Handle more frames than that if needed, though. What about audio? Does it also handle audio? And can you hear that siren? This mic is muting it, but that mic is catching it. Okay. Something is afoot here with WikiDeck, which is fine. That's the point of beta testing. That's why we're here. This is not what I was expecting to do in this video, but that's okay. No, let's just keep rolling with it. Let's see. If I try to mine a block. Yeah. Let's delete the pod and see what happens. This could be catastrophic. Should just come back. Should not destroy the blockchain because all that should be saved in memory and or database. But we'll see just how well this goes. Okay, now it's running. Hey, look at that. So something happened that caused a problem. We do not know what, which is not very helpful. Okay, so at some point in beta testing, the server died and we got that error. That'll probably happen again. I don't know why, but at the moment it's returning our thing. So we need some way to recover. But yeah, what you can do if you would like to try this out yourself is go to the client. Close out of this. The instructions are in 2025 Q4 WikiDeck agenda. This thread, bottom here, there are some instructions. Yeah, there are some logs. Oh, I didn't save them. It was saved to a temporary location on that container, which I deleted. I should have checked before deleting it. And I don't know that all of the logs are going there. I might have just put like the database logs there because that's what was breaking when I was doing those logs. So more logging would be helpful. Kind Lamar, thank you for joining. We're currently looking at WikiDeck actually, but yeah, so here are the instructions of how you can test WikiDeck out for yourself. You'll just clone the repo, create a virtual environment, and install the requirements. Make sure you set this environment variable to the correct URL. And then here are the instructions for how to use the client. And what it will do is allow you to mine blocks on this blockchain. Every time you mine a block, you're going to be given a Wikipedia page represented by this numeric page ID. This page ID links to the Wikipedia API, and so you can find all kinds of data about the page that you have earned by mining this blockchain. And then we can send these cards to one another by putting transactions inside the blockchain using RSA encryption. So that's the basic idea of WikiDeck. And yeah, if you'd like to try it out, I currently have this publicly available for beta testing. I'm hoping that some people will try and generate some blocks, maybe send some transactions. And again, in the matrix, we have a matrix chat for this. I think there's a link right here. Yeah, if you just follow this link, join our matrix chat, and we can coordinate trading some cards and seeing what we end up getting. I think both of mine were Polish politicians last time. We can actually check it out. Let's... Okay, so the first card that was generated in this blockchain was Memorials of the Great Patriotic War in Aksay region. So this was my trading card. World War II monument in Russia. Let's see, what was the next card? Ernest Bayer. Ernstein Bayer. Did I spell it wrong? Probably. American rower, who had been called the mother of women's rowing. That's another trading card. Yep, so a lot of projects around here. I organize all of them on Discourse and Gitea, and then I usually will do streams like this to work on them or just give project updates or things like that. Typically, when I do them, I try to stay focused on the stream, and we'll try to have only one topic. So like this one was supposed to be about local AI, but we ended up talking about WikiDeck. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I might cut the video in half and put one half in one thread and one half in another thread. That's probably the best experience for, you know, people coming to the threads later, unless I just put the video all in one place. And yeah, I don't know. So, you know, so far it's been pretty one-to-one, but I have been thinking that video editing is something I need to improve around here. So maybe cutting it in half is the first step in that direction. I do all of my editing up front so that I have all these fancy graphics and stuff ready to go. Are you an engineer as well, loving Westcoff? Do you work on software projects? Well, that's okay. All right, well, with that, I think I'll wrap things up here. Not an engineer, just a hobbyist mostly. Yeah, I suppose I actually do have a full-time software engineering job, so I'm a bit sad about it. But yes, it's around here. It's largely just a hobby. I try to monetize the platform a little bit, but haven't done too much with that just yet. I get a few peanuts from YouTube every now and again. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate you saying so. You can follow it on Mastodon. I have a Mastodon page. I do have a YouTube channel as well, but that's kind of a downstream publisher from the main stuff. Discourse forum, discourse.eom.dev. That's kind of the main place to go if you want to see what's going on around here and join in. And also our Matrix chat is a little bit more fast-paced if that's your thing. So yeah, whatever you're into. Glad you stopped by. Nice to meet you. But with that, I think I'll wrap up the stream here. We had a good time. And yeah, both more local AI and more WikiDeck projects in the future. So cool beans. Thank you very much for joining me. My name's Eric, and I'll see you next time. Toodles. But I will keep recording because we might see something. Oh, good. I'm appearing in Google search results. Let's. I want to see that. Let's pull up a private window. Wikideck.org? What is this? Learn with random Wikipedia cards. Does it exist? Who is this? What in the world? Oh, these are Wikipedia pages. I see. That's actually kind of sick. Seems like there's a few other things of WikiDeck, but yeah, that's mine. Anyway, cool. End it there. Toodles.